I want you to really understand something, and I want to show you that in practice, right? Because I have, look, it has been a very long month, and I have read, I think, some 11 so far, opening, different stories that have been submitted by people. And I tell you this, they always have a problem. They always have a problem. And I'm going to talk about it today because I have to show you a story that actually does it better. In 2 paragraphs, the author, Tomamo, the author of this actually does a better job than 99% of people. This is so simple, but most people miss it, and I don't know why. But I have to show you. I have to show you. You have to see this, right? So we have this story, that which, binds us. This is a religious verse from a holy book known as Dekan Kataban. All right. So I'm not going to read this because it's very distracting and it's very dense. Instead, let's start the story here because this is where the story begins. So, anyways, a young man sat on the ground, cross-legged. A young man sat on the ground, cross-legged. Well, this is cross-legged. Anyway, I'm thinking this means cross-legged. Anyway, so his legs are crossed. Before an open book, the first of 3 volumes of Dekan Kataban. Dali was the name of this man who would only stare at the opening verses, the endless verse, a sequence of words so ingrained in his mind, for he read them perhaps 1,000,000 times since his application into Median school, I don't know, a circular mantra of religious significance. At least in the days of in the Marian Isles, the verse begins with time and ends with time. As all things do, Dali reflected the common saying in his thought. This paragraph establishes, the character, right? And where he is, how he is sitting. And the second paragraph establishes the journey, the objective that the character wants to achieve. And this is really what I'm talking about. This paragraph wins over, it's so simple, but I have never noticed it until I read so many people's, submissions. And then for the first time in my life, I'm having to realize that this paragraph is a beautiful paragraph because it actually establishes the objective. The Marian Isles are Dali's destination. See, the first sentence is great. Or, as he and his compatriots know it, the heartlands. Perhaps this, so we know that we have Dali, we have his destination, and we have his compatriots, and we know where they are going. That's good. That's really good. Perhaps this is the farthest he has ever come, has ever been from his home now. Slightly nervous he was, so perhaps a little mantratic meditation is something he knew might set his mind in focus. But he also knew that he was really just fooling himself. So there is character conflict here. Pretending to study and meditate with such verse. It's been an hour, and the young man has not yet turned a single page of 3 volumes to come. Now, perhaps more closer to him is the turning of pages in the book of fate. His path as a student, the beginning of his new journey, and what comes in between, all start with the turn of this page. And yet, he could not get himself to turn it. I wonder why. What is he trying to distract himself from? Perhaps the swaying was too much for him to focus. But Dali knew this wasn't the reason. He was just too anxious about what would come in his travels. So we have established a character conflict. We have established a character objective. We have, supporting cast in compatriots. And we have a destination, which is the heartland. That's good. This paragraph is good. I'm not talking about the quality of the prose. I'm talking about the quality of the skeleton, the developmental editing. And for the most part, this paragraph is really good. It's way better than this paragraph. But most books that I read, I give them the first chapter. And so if the second paragraph in the first chapter establishes this, I know where we are going, because here's the thing, right? When you write the story, you want to set in the beginning chapters, you want to set either the character objective or the plot objective. In other words, the character conflict or the plot conflict. And here we have both the plot conflict and a character conflict, both established in the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and it's very clear, it's very good. However, there are still problems with this chapter. There's still problems with the writing. The one issue is the repetitive descriptions, right? So we have here, in the third paragraph, Dali was a young man. Of course, we have a young man, Dali, right? This is his description. This is what he looks like. He's got a dagger on his side. On his other side, he sparked a cigarette as he pondered into the hollow flame. The dimly lit walls around him swayed and creaked, the walls of a vacant room inside a crowded passenger ship, generously, perhaps very much so, lent to him after he asked the ship's crew for quiet space for him to meditate and practice his studies, the studies of a Median. So why am I reading this paragraph for you? I could summarize it, right? But not really. We have to see this paragraph, because this is where we run into one problem. And the biggest problem with this, it's pacing, it's brevity. The author is really not brief. So we know that the advantage that the author has, which is structurally, the author always does the right thing, right? So you have setup that is correct. The author follows through rather well. But the author, with these two paragraphs, we can see, is not brief. There is no brevity in the descriptions. So the descriptions eat up a lot of the word count. Vast amount of the word count is swallowed up by this description. So we know that he is in this dimly lit walls in a passenger ship, and he is reading. And the author keeps describing that in many different ways. Even the last sentence, right? In the last sentence, the young man always loved reading fantasy, especially those campy romances. Especially those campy romances, and so on and so forth. This entire chapter is trying to tell us that he reads, and he's reading, and he's trying to meditate. We know that he's trying to meditate. We know he's on a voyage, right? The list goes on. Yet, despite coming here many times during the voyage, so you see, the author really doesn't have good basing. This problem keeps going, by the way. We can check further paragraphs down the line in the second part of this. You can see it in the second part. Dali, of course, the story goes, he meets a lot of different characters. So the basing does improve, down below. But you can see that Zayn placed her fingers on her mouth. No need for this exclamation mark. Anyway, from your robes, I thought you were sort of scholar of Zavir, Agari at least. I ruled out alim. This is an Arabic word that means wise. As I thought for Hukin, you are a bit too young. Zaina bit her lip. Forgive me. I am a bit curious. What brings you so far from home? I have not heard of many Ari students studying so far away from home. Dali stretched his head. True, there are not many. I am a scholar. Dali spoke in the Levant tongue, then continued to speak in Vogan, not in the traditional sense of that word. I am given a scholarship fund. Dali almost seemed hesitant to mention the word fund. From a personal invite, he stopped himself from continuing as he hesitated to reveal any more of his personal information. Do you see an issue here? Like, the prose takes up so much more that I can't even there's someone cleaning something. I can't even keep up with the the story, the dialogue, right? And you can see how we are still discussing where are you from, right? People are still asking where are you from. So the pacing is not really that good. it is really not good. And the descriptions are always too long, and they take too much space. So this is the one problem with this story. And you're not going to have, by the way, you're not going to have brevity from it. You're not going to have mercy from it. Look at this paragraph. Look at this paragraph. Look at this paragraph. Look at this paragraph. This paragraph is a whole essay, man. Zaina leaned on the deck's, railings, gazing at the gentle blue distance before her horizon kissed by yellow starlight, rising upon the ship's larboard. Zaina stood under a shade on the side walkway, almost avoiding the foreback of the somewhat empty deck. She could hear only a handful of passengers, but Zaina smoked a pipe in her lonesome, away from those other passengers, and especially away from the eyes of ship crew who seemed to be inspecting on the passengers now that they are past the Hermsea. So that is a sentence. That is one sentence. But I hope you see the pacing is not good. So this is the problem with this story. If the author can figure out the pacing, so this is, for example, let me see, 21, right? So this is 21 pages. I genuinely believe it could be shortened down to no more than, I would say, 11 or 12 or 13 pages. You can be significantly more brief and a lot more precise. With paragraphs this large and sentences that long and descriptions that take so much time, you're not going to be able to benefit from the one good thing about the author. The one good thing about the author is that they never ever miss a good structure. The story is really well structured. So there you go. I'm going to leave it there. Have a nice day. Bye.